Hey, I'm Jorge Cervantes. I'm an author, been around for I'm entering my fifth decade of this stuff here. I'll tell you, I'm really pleased to be on Jason's program, Curious About Cannabis. And if you're curious, let's get into this interview.
We must work untiringly so that our children are obliged to learn the truth. Because it is only through knowledge that we can safely protect them.
Curious About Cannabis is dedicated to providing reliable cannabis science education to anyone curious enough to learn. To get access to free courses and other educational resources, visit learn.cacpodcast.com and become a Curious About Cannabis member for free. The Curious About Cannabis book provides an incredible crash course in cannabis science through over 500 pages of content filled with photos, activities, science experiments, games, and more to help guide you through your personalized cannabis education journey. This book has become a trusted textbook in colleges and universities across North America and is absolutely perfect for serious learners, as well as cannabis educators, bud tenders, clinicians, patients, and caregivers. And special thanks to the many individuals, companies, and organizations that have helped Curious About Cannabis meet our mission of becoming the #1 trusted source of cannabis science education on the planet. This includes organizations like Credo Science with Ethan Russo, the Kenigma, Treadwell Farms, the Spellman Report with Kevin Spellman, The Workshop, Green Earth Medicinals, CBD National, Magnolia Botanicals, and more. Visit cacpodcast.com/sponsors to learn about our sponsors and go show them some love for helping us spread cannabis science education far and wide to anyone curious enough to learn. If you like Curious About Cannabis, consider checking out some of these other learning initiatives by Natural Learning Enterprises.
Come on, Molly! It'll be an adventure! Phoebe called out as she followed Brother Toadstool. Brother Toadstool led Phoebe and Molly into a tunnel that went deep down into the ground. As they climbed into the tunnel, they found themselves getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Our new children's book, A Toadstool's Treasures, takes young readers on an adventure into the fun and fascinating world of fungi. Learn more and find mycology-related learning resources, games, and lesson plans for teachers and homeschooling families at toadstoolstreasures.com. And now, back to the show. Hey everybody, this is Jason with Curious About Cannabis. Thanks so much for tuning in once again. Today I am super excited to finally be crossing paths with somebody who's been a part of my cannabis education journey for most of my life. I'm here with Jorge Cervantes. Jorge, thank you so much for being willing to take time today to come on Curious About Cannabis. I'm really stoked to talk to you.
Hey, I'm really pleased to be here too. I mean, first just to be alive, and then second to be on your program now. It's really an honor. I'm very happy that you invited me. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I'm stoked to see that you very recently released a new book. And as someone who has followed a lot of your books through the years, as well as your videos, your videos taught me how to cultivate cannabis, really. It's really cool to see that you're back at it, releasing new content. And this time it seems like there's a big community focus, which I really appreciated and latched onto when I saw the announcements about this new book, We Grow Cannabis. So tell us about what led to this new book.
Well, I'll tell you, it's, we've got just a couple of minutes here. It's a bit of a story.
Go for it, yes.
Okay, cool. During COVID, we were locked down here pretty heavy in Europe, especially Spain.
Yeah.
And so I was there wasn't much going on for a couple of years here. So rather than, smoke myself crazy, or go around in circles. I did smoke myself through it. That was a good thing. But the deal is, I thought, what am I going to do? So I decided I should rewrite this book, the Marijuana Horticulture book. And this one, I mean, I don't know. This is a video, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, this is a video so people can see this. Good. So anyway, I rewrote this book. Everybody calls it the Bible, but it's been out for a long time, and it's a bit dated. So I thought it was time for an update after 15 years, right? And a few things.
Wow. I mean, it really has held up, even though it might be dated a little bit. It has really held up.
Yeah, plants haven't changed that much over the years, I mean, several million years, they don't change so fast, right? But the last 10 years have changed things have changed quite a bit. Technology's changed. So I went to go print the book and was going to lay it out, design it, pay for all of that because I'm not an artist. And what I found was, and then I started looking at the price, what it would cost to print, because I'm the publisher for this book. And because nobody wanted to publish it before. So I had to start publishing myself years ago. Self-published anyway. And but it looked like it was going to be a bad decision economically. It looked like I was going to lose money. A lot of people wanted a book, but not that many people read books anymore. They read these things, these phones, right? Like this, There's my dog. Yeah. And so they read these their cell phones, and I thought, and I had the phone here, and I had this book here, like this, and I thought, gee, look at this. This one's so much smaller. It's much easier to deal with. So I thought, maybe I just put the whole book in here, and it made a lot more sense. So that's what I did. I made a digital book, and then I went to distribute it, and then I thought, oh boy, it was just way too much. And then that's when I got a hold of Marcelo, El Técnico, and then he helped me a lot of stuff. I wanted to make an app and all of that stuff. I had no idea what I was doing. I know about printing, I'm really good at it, but the other parts I'm not so good at, not at all. Anyway, so Marcelo helped me a lot, and then I started thinking, gosh, I need to get out because I need to get this distributed properly, and I understand the book world really well, but the other part I don't understand. I know how to distribute books, everything about that. It's come second nature. I've done it for 40 years. But the problem was I didn't know anything about this digital stuff. So I went and found another friend of mine, Stefan Meyer. And he's this Swiss guy. I've known him for like 25 years, right? Actually, I've known both of those guys for 25 years, Marcelo and Stefan. And so then we started thinking, and Stefan says, look, before you do this book, before you put that the Biblia out or the Bible out, the horticulture book, you should put out a smaller book. So I took part of about 100 pages of this 800-page book, because that's what this turned into. 800 pages. Whoops, 800 pages. Yeah. And because it's like only 500 pages now, but there's so much more new stuff. It's amazing. And to get all that stuff correct is like really a big job, and it keeps changing. So anyway, we put out this first book, We Grow Cannabis, and put it out free, made it only digital. And and we're distributed, and it's done. Gosh, I don't know how. Stefan and Marcelo take care of all that stuff. How many copies are out there? But there's I don't know. There's not 100. There's 20, 30,000 out there right now, and it's been out.
Oh, sure, months. Yeah.
And it continues. We continue to have downloads daily, nonstop. So that's a pretty good deal. And then the next thing, I live in Spain. So does Stefan and Marcelo. So we thought, well, gosh, let's translate this book into. We translate this into Spanish, yeah? And so we translated into Spanish, and there it is. Perdona is the siren comes by, the ambulance comes by, because I live in the city.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, and anyway, we made the book into a digital version and made a PDF. that you can download, and it's really a good deal. And two, so it's Stefan and also another guy, Gary, well, Dr. Gary Yates. He's got a degree in doctorate's degree in microbiology, and he's fascinating, great guy. He's from up there in Scotland. Anyway, he's man, he really helped a lot. Both him and Gary and Stefan helped immensely on putting this new book together. Lots of new information, things that I was unaware of, and editing. It's really a good deal. So now I get to work with all these young smart guys. It's great.
Well, and it really takes, all this educational work you've been doing kind of into the sort of next generation virtual technological world that we're living in these days. It's cool to see that evolution happen. And something I wanted to ask you is, what are some of these, because things have changed so much, even just within the past few years, 5 years and 10 years, even just those scales, things have evolved quite a bit. What were some of the things that stood out to you that have changed so much in how people grow cannabis that, really warranted getting back to writing?
Well, let's see. I mean, it's overall, I've got the book open here. I can't show you a picture because it's digital. Yeah, because you can see that, you can see the book. Go to my website, Marijuana Growing, marijuana with a J. You can download the book there, or you can go to Seedsman. I needed a partner, so I got a partner, my good friend Tom from Seedsman. Seedsman, they have a seed company,
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah. So I got a partner, and you can also download it there as well. But the things that at seedsman.com, but the things that have changed, it's pretty amazing. There's a lot more auto flowering. Auto flowering is quite large, quite big. Feminized seeds, they've been around for a long time. The first seeds they feminized, the first time cannabis seeds were feminized, it's like, I don't know, like back in the 70s. It's amazing, Yeah. A lot of people take credit for it. Well, I have to say Hank Van Dalen, he from Dutch Passion, he's the one that popularized it. But it had been way before, done decades before that.
Yeah.
And then also the other big things are like I say, the auto flowering. But the cool part is about auto flowering. I don't go into it in this book, but I can learn a whole bunch more. That's coming. That's coming for more sophisticated people. So I'll talk about that. And then other things, like there's CBD was not such a big thing before. Now It's kind of like, my gosh, it's everywhere. And it's, I think people have kind of gone overboard with CBD. CBD is supposed to fix and do everything,
Yeah.
It gets a little trying on the mind there. And then
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure. And then also the industrial hemp varieties. People are more getting into that as well. But yeah, man, so many people went broke. I mean, you were in Oregon, you saw that. You saw what happened with the industrial hemp. Well, CBD rich hemp, let's call it. Yeah, well, it should. I didn't realize it would pop that fast, but it should, because hell, everybody could grow a lot of it, and but they didn't have any means to harvest it. I remember I went over to one place. I'm not going to say the name, but they had like oh Jesus! It was raining. It was in the Willamette Valley, and they'd harvested all of this cannabis. Everything was moldy and stuff. There's so much money lost. Poor what do you call it? Planning and stuff. And then
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. What else has changed? CBG has come in as well. I talk a bit about that. Not tons, because this book's not really aimed at that so much. And then
it's very new.
Yeah, and that's, well, let's see, the book, this book here is like 8 chapters, 100 pages, and it's 100 pages. You know, I mean, some people say they put like 110 words on a page and call that a page.
Right.
And it's got
dense pages,
250, 300 words a page. You know, it's full on, and
nice.
Very well written. I have to say that you know, Gary and Stefan, they help immensely. You know, I mean, Gary, he would not let anything slide. Either was Stefan, nothing. I mean, it's just like perfect.
Good.
So, yeah, that's good. I mean, a little tough to put up with, but yeah.
Right, exactly. It'd be a little frustrating, but at the end of the day, it makes everything that much better.
It's true, and my hat's off to him. You know, definitely off to him. And then also, let's see, and then that was just first chapter, and second chapter out of 8 chapters, it's a pretty straightforward life cycle of cannabis.
Cool.
But you know, I think a lot of people don't really realize a lot of this basic stuff, and they forget that this is a plant, and it has specific requirements for life and growth, and you got to follow Mother Nature's rules, because if you don't, you can't cheat her. You know, you can't fool her.
That's right.
You're pretty smart. And then another thing, and then okay, so that's pretty straightforward chapter, and then next thing is seeds and seedlings. Man, so many people. There's a lot of you can germinate seeds and you can do okay. Or you can germinate seeds and do really, really well. And then especially with those autoflowers, because you got to be careful with those. So I talked to several experts. Actually, one of my friends, Steve Rogers, his son Glenn is here. There's several pictures of him in the book, and I mean, he's the guy. I've known Steve since he's from my hometown, right? So we've known each other forever, and he's just a hardcore gardener. He quit his job as an engineer and became a gardener, market gardener, and quite the cannabis gardener. He's outside of Salem, Oregon. There, yeah, and so his input there was invaluable, because he didn't come from the cannabis world. He comes from the farming world. And he's got a steel trap for a mine, and his science and chemistry is outstanding. So I relied on him quite a bit for that, and a lot of other things, a lot of other sources as well. And then what else? Yeah, ordering seeds, storing seeds, that's quite important. And then the basic needs of cannabis. I keep going back to the basics, and I got a great acronym for that. It's called LAWNS: light, air, water, nutrients, and soil or substrate. LAWNS.
Nice, LAWNS.
You gotta have each one of those, and each one of these 5 is 20%. If this one is like 5% off, that means all of them are running at 15%. This one runs at 15%. They all run at 15%. So that means your plants are going to grow 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% worse, slower, bad, all bad. So you want to maximize each one of these things. I think people a lot of times they can forget about that pretty easily.
I was going to ask if some of this comes from things that you've seen of common misunderstandings or misapplications or mistakes that people are often making. And I think especially today with the excessive amount of information that's available through the internet and everything, that a lot of people are missing core pieces of the puzzle, so to speak.
Yep. 100%. You forget about the basics, and you know you want to buy a little pill. Remember the Stone song, "Mother's Little Helper"? Goes running for the shelter.
Yeah.
Mother's Little Helper. She takes a pill to solve everything. It doesn't work like that. The most money in this business, it used to be, well, it still is in fertilizers. So for some reason, there's so much money in it, right? And for that reason, this money reason, everybody wants to put more fertilizer on, or there's a fertilizer thing. It's always about fertilizer. Everything's fertilizer. No, or additive.
I've seen it firsthand.
Additive. That's all BS. It's 20%. It's one of the lawns, nutrients.
Yeah.
But more important is water, soil, and then if any of those things are out of balance, like light or air or the others, you got problems. So the fertilizer is not going to be, well, you can spend as much money as you want, but not going to solve the problem.
Some people spend quite a lot.
Yeah, that's, well, my God. I mean, look at it. You go into a regular nursery, like plant nursery, there's what, say, 500, 10,000 different types of plants. Not varieties, but just types. You know, varieties, you get quite a bit more.
Right.
Everything from woody plants to soft annuals, hardy, and then you've got hardy plants, all that, and perennials, everything. So what you've got like 10, 15 different types of fertilizer for all of those plants. Then you go into a cannabis store. This one plant has like 50 different fertilizers.
Yeah.
Wow.
There'll be a whole warehouse just full of bags of different fertilizers and things.
Yeah, and you got, it's like, okay, I got to put this on and this on. I have to do this today and that tomorrow. No, you get real confused, you know. I mean, people, they screw stuff up.
It kind of makes it feel inaccessible too. Like it overcomplicates it so much that I think for new growers, it makes it feel too complex and almost kind of scary to get into.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And you know, I mean, it's like for me with computers, I look at them, everything's complicated for me. You know, I need it really simple. Well, most people do too. I like things real simple with plants as well. And you can change one thing at a time and see what happens, but the results, you know, to get a response might take up to 2 weeks. It'll take a week for sure,
right.
But you just can't tell the difference. And if you change 2 or 3 things at the same time, there's no way you can tell what the problem was. Well, you can know what the problem was, but you don't know how to solve it. It's like almost impossible. So yeah, it's people make their life too complex.
Yeah. Well, and you know, kind of stemming off of that, yeah, I really like this lawns principle. It's kind of like a double thing because I don't want people to have lawns, but I want them to pay attention to their lawns. So I like that. I'm gonna make sure to remember that. But what were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, I hate lawns, like grass lawns, like fescue, bluegrass.
Right.
It's they
Get rid of your
way,
lawns, but mind your lawns.
Yeah, right. They take way too much water. They're a waste of resources. They invented them so you can mow them.
Exactly. Yeah, and try to show off how big of a lawn you have to your neighbors. Well, and on that concept of like the core principles, what are some of the you know, a lot of people are really interested in living soil, trying to cultivate in more ways that are ecologically conscious, and that really ties into this lawns principle. And that's kind of the, you know, the thing that I'm really thinking about here. So for folks that are really interested in in that side of things, living soil, all of that, what were some of the, I guess, what are some concepts and topics and things that you'd recommend they learn about so that they can better understand why, the water, air, soil, all of these different components work together, and then especially the soil component, because that's a really complex one.
Yeah, it can be. First off, okay, straight away, you grow in a little container, say like this coffee cup here, right? You grow in a container this size, and you can't, and you're growing a plant 3 to 4 months, 90 to 120 days, maybe as long as 150 days. Well, you don't have any time for organic activity to happen. I mean, anything you have, it's very, very short time. So it's this much. You have to do that outside or in a very large container with no bottom on it, or something that breathes on the bottom. You got to get over 20 gallons, 25 gallons, 50 gallons or larger, and then I wouldn't spend that much money on soil. I mean, hell, I've seen people the 250, 300 gallon pots. What is it? Well, maybe it's 500 gallon. I can't remember. But they put a whole pallet of soil in there. I mean, that's crazy. Right. And they buy this soil. They buy it. Well, if you buy it by the truckload, it's a lot less expensive than when it's bagged. But dude, I've seen people buy semi-loads of.
Well, I was gonna say, this is almost like a whole other racket, similar to the fertilizer side. I mean, the soil business is huge in cannabis.
Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, I grew up in farm country, and I don't know anybody's that stupid. I mean, I mean, none of those guys are over there. I mean, I go over, and I went around with my buddy Jerry Norton in Oregon, that was head of the CBD. I can't remember the name of the CBD Association. He had the fair for several years there.
Okay.
And we went around to visit. Oh man, we went to see quite a few people: daffodil growers, flower growers, tulip growers. Those are the main people, like ornamental people. And every time you talk to one of them farmers, he's sitting there like that, and he look at you and you go, "You got big hands, I can take big hands." And he goes, it's like, well, that sounds all right. I got a couple questions. Can you do it with the machine? I'd be growing a few acres of that. I got to do it with the machine. I don't want to pay a bunch of people. And he goes, and then they say, and they close up to you and say, where am I going to sell that anyway? What kind of market you got? I hear it's worth a lot, but how am I going to sell it? I said, and I said, no and no. You can't do it with the machine, and I don't know where you're going to sell it, because that's not my end of it. Most of them were thinking about that. That was a few years ago when CBD became legal and everybody was growing it. Yeah, and so those are the guys I listen to, because man, they make their living at it, and they've been doing it for a long time, and their whole family makes a living at it, at farming. And you can farm wheat, you can farm flowers, you can, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can farm, but their profit margins are like that, very small.
Exactly. Yes.
And
very small.
Those guys are the ones I think that are important to listen to. But to get back to this organic thing, you really should do it outdoors, or in a greenhouse in a raised bed, where you can work with the soil. You can leave it there, and you can build the soil over time. First thing you want to do is get a soil test. They're cheap.
Yes.
Depends on how long, or all the things you want to know. But the more you want to know. But heck, you can spend like less than $100 and have all kinds of information. I guarantee you'll save at least $1,000 on fertilizer if you're very big at all. So that's money really well spent. Yeah. Yeah, very much so. But however, pH, I mean, it's kind of like magic, organic soil. I've been an organic grower for years.
Yeah.
I haven't been growing here in the city organically because, well, I've got flower pots and stuff, and I'll put a crop in. But the thing is, with the organic growing, I did an experiment several times, and I will put in, I would get like really bad water, with a high pH, maybe 8.25, which is really, really high. And then I pour this water in like a liter of it into the soil, and then I take a pH reading right then, and it just switches. Amazing. The soil is so overwhelming that you're looking. I'd be looking at 6.3 to 6.5 for the pH of the water after it goes into the soil.
Just an excellent buffering system.
Incredible. The buffering system is tops. And also another thing I look at for people when they get into organic growing is just follow one path. Don't listen to 5 people and they tell you this and that and what they would do and what their friend has done, and and they usually, if they talk too much, they don't know too much. So that's
that's right.
General rule. And also, just because keep putting things in the soil, that doesn't work. I mean, you toxify things, or you may kill some soil life. Keep it really simple. Takes a few years, about 2 to 3 years really, to build good soil to build it up. One of my faves is chicken manure. Chicken manure, preferably not bagged. If you can get a pickup load of it, barnyard chicken manure, it's great. And then also, when you get a soil test, get it from like a regular soil lab, right?
Yes.
These soil
They're specialized in that.
They'll always call it mineral soil. They never say soil, they say mineral soil, because first it's mineral and it's only got a few percent of organic matter to it. And the organic matter, it gets eaten up pretty quickly. So that's important. And they will give you recommendations as to what your specific soil will need. And that's important to follow that. You don't have to follow, you don't have to put a bunch of mineral salts in there, chemical fertilizers is what they normally call it. But you can definitely work with recommendations and bring it up to fertility, no problem. Yeah, that's.
And have you played around much with compost teas?
Yeah, a whole bunch. I used to make that aerated activated compost tea.
Yeah.
The aerated activated compost tea. What that is it's basically full of microbes and bacteria, and the good microbes, good bacteria, lots of life in there. I got kind of a weak chemistry background. Dr. Gary would give you a real good answer on that one, as far as he'd bore you for about 2 hours.
The technical side, yeah.
He's so good, but only if you want to be bored. he pays attention. He pays attention. I got to be good. Gotta say that about him. But the deal is with that, the organic. When I heard something outside, I got distracted and I lost.
No worries. Yeah, the siren came by.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I can't remember the question.
I was just asking about your general experience with compost teas.
Oh, yeah, activated aerated compost tea. That's right. Now I remember. Anyway, so what that does is it's great. You buy it. You take you get a base mix. I used to get mine from Vital Landscaping. There's several people that had it, but that was in California when I really played with it for some years. I get the base from them, which is the bacteria and the microbes and the soil life, and it's all dry, and you put it in a bag that's a permeable bag. It could be cheesecloth, or usually works real well. And you put that in water, and you got to use clean water. Make sure it's not full of chlorine or chloride.
Kill grubs.
They kill soil life. Not many water systems put chlorine anymore. They use this chloride stuff, and it stays with it. It's hard to dissipate. It doesn't volatilize in the air. So you get clean water, and with the decent pH, somewhere between 6 and 7, and then put that. I used to brew mine in a 30-gallon container, and then you just put in along with the microbes and bacteria. You put in the manure. I put in the chicken manure with that, and that's the source of food. And then you fill it with air. Then you put air bubbles in there, and the moisture will activate everything. It will activate the soil life that they give you, and then the air will make it grow really fast. So you basically put an air stone in there, or I had a pretty good sized air pump in it, and then you cook it for a couple of days. Keep it in the shade always. Don't want to get too hot, because it's going to get hot on its own with all that life going on. And then you take that, and you can either put it on as a fertilizer on the top. But what I did, it was great. There's another siren coming by, and
don't worry, we can't really hear it on our side. I don't know
okay.
It is on yours,
I didn't know that.
I can't hear it too much.
Okay, so I'll go in this again. So then you've got this brew. You brew it for 24 hours. It's the microbes, the manure, that's the food, and the air that makes it cook, or gives it extra life, and the water that activates it. So then all of this grows, and it's full of life. It's great. It's really cool. And so what I would do is just take this stuff and put it in my hose-in sprayer, just a cheap little sprayer. It's one of those with a venturi on the side. You just fill it up, and it's got a suction hose in it, or a suction tube in it. And you just put your finger over the one side, and then it starts picking up venturi, and then I just take this stuff and sling it all over the place. I put it everywhere. And on the leaves, up on the top of the leaves, bottom of the leaves, everywhere, in the soil, everywhere around. And what that stuff does, these are all good life, microbes and bacteria. Well, what that does is it outcompetes the bad ones, all the bad stuff, the fungus, the insects, everything. It just overwhelms them, and it basically displaces them. So, and it works great. In fact, who was it? Kevin Jodry does that too. He has that Wonderland Nursery in Garberville.
That's right.
Yeah, and it works great. In fact, that's what they were doing, several million clones a year down there, and he was slinging that everywhere. He had actually an atomizer that would split things up a little smaller.
Yeah.
So it would actually fog in, and that worked great. But for most people, you just need a hose-in sprayer. You don't need to get the big machine like he had. He had a couple of those, and they worked really well. But for like 99% of the people, the hose-in sprayer is adequate, or a similar thing. But that's what I did, and it worked great. I didn't have any trouble. Just everything just was.
I think that touches on a question a lot of people have too when they're getting into compost teas is, is it okay for the compost tea to touch the plants themselves, or does it need to just stay into, the soil? And so it's nice to hear that feedback that, you, as long as it's done properly and brewed properly, you should be able to spray it everywhere and it shouldn't cause any problems.
Exactly. It, put it on in the morning is the best time because everything applies better in the morning. Don't put it on full sun. This is just kind of like regular spraying instructions. You can get
anyway.
You can cool it down. You can cool cannabis down. You can spray it during the middle of the day. That's not really a problem, but that's to cool it down. This is to keep you want all this stuff alive. You want everything alive.
Yeah.
And then you put it on, leave it on, and might be a bit of a film or or something there. That's not really a problem. Don't worry about it. But it certainly solved a lot of problems for me before they occurred, and soil problems too. It works indoors, it works outdoors, greenhouses, everywhere. I can't get enough of it. I really like that. It's
Well, and something I think about too, going back to your lawns idea, is that these microbes and all of these complex interactions, they really help keep all of those components balanced, as far as holding on to water, making nutrients more available, changing the texture of the soil even, et cetera, et cetera. So it's cool to think about how all of that is really, it really highlights just how interconnected it all is, in a cool way.
Everything's like your head bone's connected to your foot bone. We saw
That's right.
This is like we're all connected here. You can't just do one thing, and it's a whole package. It's a whole package there.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. You're always. There was an old quote by, I think it was John Muir from way back in the day, but to summarize it, it was something like, if you tug at one aspect of nature, you're inevitably tugging at every other part of nature too, and that nature's web, you can't interact with it without affecting all of these other interconnected pieces that you're not necessarily seeing. And so to ignore all of that is really at your own detriment.
The butterfly effect. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
John Muir.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about the national parks or national parks, and established Yosemite, I think, was the first one, wasn't it? Yeah.
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 And
please go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, there's a slight delay, so sometimes we overlap.
Yeah, no worries. Let's see. Yeah, and then as far as doing organic growing in a container, it's kind of difficult. You can use organic fertilizers, and that's okay. But you're in an enclosed environment, and things can just get out of hand really quickly. And then too, things could, like you don't want to put manure. Manure smells usually. So I don't want to be putting manure in the basement.
Especially in a grow tent or something.
Yeah. Deodorize it, I guess, but I don't know. It's kind of like not the same. So usually,
I agree.
Yeah, all of that you got to put it in from the top, and then it drains out the bottom. But as far as getting a lot of life going, it's pretty hard to do that. And then, like I said, the time period is pretty short too, 90 to 280 days or 150 days usually. So and watch the balance, watch all of that stuff. It's people talk about their soil mixes and what they put in it and stuff. It's kind of like cooking, I guess. And then
Yeah, and it seems like it can vary quite a bit place to place too, like depending on where you're growing.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, in Oregon, everybody's organic. In Southern California, everybody's hydroponic. Or not everybody, but it's like the norm. It really depends on where you're at. And in Colorado, it's such a horrid climate there. Most people have to grow indoors, and you can grow in a greenhouse too. It's a bit less expensive, but growing outside, they got they call it the banana belt, and I don't know, it's like 120-day climate, it may be, without a freeze. It's not very long, but there's a lot
very
of things
small window of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to overcome the climates. And then,
well, and as this is I think a good connection to another thing I wanted to ask you about, because you've been traveling around a lot, meeting a lot of folks in the cannabis industry and attending events and really just kind of checking the pulse of what's going on and what people are doing. And so based on your experiences with all of that, what are your thoughts regarding how the industry is developing? We've already talked about some of the issues related to scaling cultivation operations, and issues related to inputs and all of that. But what's been your main takeaways from really seeing what's going on in the industry, and what are some things that you hope the growing global cannabis industry kind of remembers, I guess, from its history as it's kind of emerging into a brave new world?
Okay, the last few years have been like a really crazy greedy green rush.
Yeah,
At
absolutely.
least it depends on where you're at. I was in Colombia for a while, and Mexico as well, and then West Coast U.S., and then I pay attention to different places in the U.S., and it was real interesting what I saw in, because I was in the United States, or West Coast, for 2 months last year, August and September. And what I saw was there's a lot of, I saw some people had a very big advantage, but most of these guys I'm talking about are commercial growers. They're growing for profit, and they're growing at least a half of an acre. And two examples, for example. Okay. Well, if you have to haul your water, and you have to pay for that water, and then you have to store that water, those are huge expenses. Huge expenses.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all about expenses now, just like real farming. It's all about how much it costs you to make that 1 gram, or that 1 pound, or that 1 kilogram, or that one ton. So that person that's spending the money for those 3 things, they buy the water, they have to transport it, and then they have to store it. Okay, that's very, very expensive. Then you got this other guy that's already farming, and he's buying his water by the acre foot, and it comes to him in a ditch or in a pipe. Who's got the advantage here? Is one guy's paying a penny for this gallon, and the other guy's paying 20 cents. That's like an incredible advantage over the other one. Right?
Yeah.
You've got somebody that's look at agriculture. They go to the place where it's cheapest to grow. Most of the greenhouses are close to the coast, because that's where the climate's best. You look at up and down like California, almost all of those greenhouses are along the coast. The further inland, the colder it gets at night, and the hotter it gets during the day. Okay, it costs a ton of money to cool a greenhouse, especially cool them. Costs more to cool it usually than to heat it. So those are really big expenses. And then look at Canada. Where's all the greenhouses? They're all up there in the lower mainland, and then or over around Leamington, around the Great Lakes, close to water. That's where it's like not too hot, not too cold at night. That's where you grow. It makes sense. The people, and then the way that the whole industry is growing, it's like you've got a limited market you can sell to. And we both know Oregon, for example. Well, there's forgotten the stats now, but there's like I think it's about 4 times too many growers compared to sales outlets, is what I worked out. I don't remember all the other figures, but that's the important one to remember. And so you see that, and hell, those guys they got a 4 million 4 million people in their market, and only a percentage of that 4 million is going to use cannabis of any kind, and they could
exactly. Yes.
So they're overproducing, and the price it drops down. I saw people with literally I think I saw a ton and a half at one time just in storage, so that people they couldn't sell it. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so and then they keep planting. They keep planting more. They go, oh, it'll get better next year. It's like, what the hell? And then the cannabis gets old and it oxidizes. Oxidizes. It gets brown instead of nice, vibrant, live color. And man, that stuff, they're gonna have a hard time of it. And then some people just better growers than others. So
well, there's a lot of people that have rushed into growing that have never really done it before in their lives, and they just see an opportunity to make a lot of money, especially in the hemp space. And that really stands out if you can tell the difference.
Yeah. I mean, I remember a few years ago, I talked to this guy was a real estate developer, and he's wants me to get involved with him and stuff, and I said, well, and he had all these questions, and he says, well, what was it? I said, I just got one question. What's your production cost? What's it cost you to produce a pound, 454 grams? And he says, about $600. And I said, well, no, I'm not at all interested. And he goes, well, you don't know anything else? You don't know anything about the whole deal. Why can you say that? I said, well, you just told me everything I need to know. I mean, your production cost is too high. Unless you can get that down to less than $100, can't play.
Yeah.
Can't play. You're gonna be paddling upstream. Not gonna work. So that's one of the big things. People have stars in their eyes. I've seen it on and on because I grew up in Oregon. That's where I saw everything, the indoor stuff start and the outdoor stuff before that. And I lived in California for, years as well. And, in the 70s, I lived there. And then again, we had a house there. I sold it 5 years ago. And I was staying about half time in Sonoma, California. And so and then we had that house about 7 years. Yeah. So, I know the state, and I know Washington too, because there's a lot of business there, old times, new times, all that, and then BC as well, But I moved from Oregon to BC in the mid '90s, and then later over to Amsterdam, and then finally to Spain. And I traveled, I've been to, it's been a while since I've been there, but I've been to Australia, and then also, Latin America, but just for cannabis specifically, Colombia and Mexico. And everybody is growing. everybody, and they think it's going to be, like the salvation, and they're going to be the biggest growers in the world, and they're going to export everything. And I was stupid enough to get sucked into that for a while, but then you start adding the numbers up, and they just don't add up. So basically, I'm most concerned. I'm not so concerned with the commercial growers. I'm concerned with the little guys, the backyard growers, and the guys. Man, I know those guys. That's me. That's the guys I came with. And that's where this whole community comes from. Because we all got to stick together. Before we couldn't stick together, but now we can stick together, and that's really a good thing.
Well, and that goes back to the book. We Grow Cannabis. I mean, that seems like that's one of the big goals, is to bring the community back together and to say, hey, like, for the most part, we can talk about this. We can share information now. We can be open about this and support each other. We grow cannabis, and that's, like I said, that's something that I really like about this approach. Because I agree. I think it's very, very important in order for smaller growers to survive and make it through whatever comes next. It's going to require community.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I'm concerned about the guy that just wants to grow a few plants themselves.
Yes, yeah.
They're really important guys. You don't have to have unless the climate warrants it, or your local laws, I guess.
Right.
You don't have to grow inside. You can grow in the backyard, or you can grow on the terrace. But these are the guys that I'm really concerned with, and because, man, they're my buddies. I mean, these are the guys I grew up with, and.
Well, it's where it's all came from. I mean, I think the industry, as it's maturing, is definitely losing the connection to, the generations of people that have had that passion for the plant and have dedicated time and energy and just out of curiosity and just general fascination and enjoying growing the plant and enjoying seeing what you can make out of it and the different ways it can express itself. I do think especially all of the new folks coming into the industry without any cannabis background that are just seeing it as business, which, that's fine on one side, but you do have to understand where this all came from and maintain a certain appreciation and respect for that. And it's kind of crazy how fast that disconnection has happened, because I remember, I lived in Oregon before dispensaries were legal in the medical program. And so that was a kind of fun time, because the medical program, in order for a patient, it was complicated and bad for some reasons, because it could be hard for a patient to find a grower, but it was also interesting in that it connected everybody. And then I've watched all of these changes, happen. Dispensaries get legalized, adult use gets legalized, all these, these dominoes fall. And then within 5 years, people lose that connection with all of the growers and the types of people that just have that genuine passion that actually carried everything afloat to this point.
Yeah, that's 100%. I agree. And is what we say here in lo que hay. It's what there is.
Yes, it is what it is.
I know where my heart is. I know who I am, and I know who my buddies are. That works for me.
Yeah.
And these are the guys. I mean, what's that saying? You dance with the one that brought you. I mean, I got.
Yeah, there you go.
I got here.
I love that. Yeah.
I got these. We all been together a long time, and I see it all over the world. Latin America is really taken off now. Argentina is quite large, big. In fact, I was just getting texts from one buddy down there, Mike Bufari, and he's from Argentina. Crazy about soccer too, football to us. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, I have the best player. Well, I don't know. That'll get me a bunch of comments. But I love Argentine players. Okay.
It seems like there's some stuff developing in Brazil as well. I've talked to a couple people down there.
Oh yeah. Brazil, they have trouble with the legal system there. It's pretty rough on this.
It's weird, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And then they have that Jair Bolsonaro, and he's a fascist guy, and then now they have Lula. He won the election. But Bolsonaro doesn't give up. He's no politics.
There's some I'll just say some tricky things going on.
But I look for Latin America to take off as well. In fact, I don't know, this book here, this one.
The encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia. I've got I'm not going to say yet, but I got plans for this book. I'm actually going to put this book. I got it translated into Spanish, but it was so expensive to print, and it's to ship and everything, and distances, it's so great. Spain's got 44 million people, so we can distribute here in Spain pretty well, but this book's too big and expensive for the market here. It's a $50 book. And how many pages is it? It's like 600 pages, yeah. But it's a big format. Yeah, I can see it there. But anyway, I was talking about Latin America. I wanted to show a picture here. This is
nice, cool.
Vicente Fox. He was the president of Mexico, yeah. And he was the president of Vicente Fox Quesada. He's I can't say we're buddies, but I mean we know each other pretty well. And he wrote the foreword to it. So they got a lot of stuff going in Latin America, and all over the world as well. So I look for a lot of things to change in the future. Here in Europe, it's legal in Luxembourg and Malta, and they've got quite a few things going in Portugal. Actually, it's Stefan Meyer. He's more of an expert there with that stuff. He pays closer attention to it than I do.
Well, and I wanted to ask you, because we're kind of tapping into these themes of where things are going, where they've been, and general passion for the plant. What was it about cannabis that drew you in, and what is it about Spain that has attracted you? I've always wanted to ask you that.
First off, cannabis. Quick story is in high school. I graduated from high school in 1972, and we got a lecture. I think we were sophomores in high school, second year in high school, about how horrid cannabis was, or marijuana, dope. And they say it was like this big smack, like it's disgusting. If you smoke cannabis, you would immediately go to heroin, and then you would commit crimes.
Of course.
Like capital crimes. That was the lecture I got. And I thought, okay, well, I believed it. I didn't know any different. And then I was young, and I thought, okay, I was told that by people I respect. And then so we got a chance that a friend of mine scored a three-fingered lid of Mexican dirtweed. He used to measure cannabis by fingers. It's like 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger lid, and a 4-finger lid. That was just like huge. And you put it in those little sandwich bags.
Exactly. How deep is it? Yeah.
Yeah, little sandwich bags. Anyway, we got one of my father's pipes, tobacco pipes, and drove around and stuffed this thing full. And 4 of us smoked, and finally I got high. And it was the best experience of my life at the time. I was like 16, 17 years old. 17, yeah. And my God, it was wonderful. And it wasn't anything like those guys said. I mean, I didn't go start doing heroin. Haven't committed any capital crimes. Only crimes I've done is, like cannabis crimes. And I don't consider that a crime.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it. And then in Spain, I came here. I was here as I came as a student in college. I spent a year here. And that was when Franco, I mean, he was, Francisco Franco was a dictator in Spain from 1937 to 1975. And he ruled the country. He was the last dictator in Europe. And I had more freedom in this country here than I did in my hometown of Ontario, Oregon. So it held a special place for me. Even when Franco was here, I had more freedom, right? So then Franco died. He died in November 75, right? And so I came back several times. I later went to school in Mexico, but I kept coming back after that. And then what? I moved to Amsterdam. I was living there, and I mean, the weather sucked. It's just horrid, It's really bad. I like it sunny, And so at the Cannabis Cup, I was there. All these Spanish guys are showing up, and it's like, dude, cool, I mean, I talk Spanish, so I'm okay. And so they show up, and they were telling me what a great time it is there. And Barcelona is the capital of the cannabis movement in Spain. So I said, oh, wow, I'm going to move there. So I moved down there, and that was 25 years ago, 23 years ago. Yeah. And then I came here.
Wow.
And that's why. So I've been involved in this whole thing here since the beginning, really. Saw it go from Moroccan hash to sweet cannabis flowers.
Oh yeah, what's what's that feel like? You've watched hash evolve quite a lot, especially over like the past 15 years or so. What has that been like? Because I remember one of your old books, and then one of your first videos. You talk a little bit about hash and talk about some of the different grades and everything. But now we're in like a totally different world compared to just like not that long ago.
I kind of like lost track of all the things. I just get too blasted on this stuff. It's just too strong. I don't like getting like blotto. It's not fun. It's like have like 5 shots of whiskey. It's like, boy, isn't that fun? No, I would rather drink a beer and have a nice time, or nice wine. It's the same with the cannabis. Myself, I prefer the Moroccan hash. I mean, it's really good, and it's not nearly as strong, and it's not overwhelming, and it's got a more of a balanced effect. You don't get like you take a hit to the back of your head doesn't blow off. It's really pretty good stuff. I like that, and then I like the dry sieve hash. It's really good because it retains the flavors and everything. And then too, they got
you're at least still keeping those trichome heads.
Yeah, exactly. And then the rosin is really quite good. I like that. Okay, but it can get too overpowering, and it's just it's too much. Actually, I gotta give just a minute. I have this right here's my shopping bag. I have to do this for Mila. I love Mila. She's like here, the Dabadoo. She's really
nice.
Dabadoo. This is one she's had these. I've been to a bunch of them. This one was one they had here, so that's why I have it. But it's the one we have one in Berkeley. We have several of them. I can't even remember. See, that's what happens with that stuff. Can't remember what happened.
I know I was there. Well, it's been interesting to watch, and again, talking about the disconnect between where things are at and where they've come from, it seems like a lot of new cannabis folks, a lot of younger people that are getting into cannabis now are not that interested in traditional hash. And they're more interested in vape pens and dabbing, highly, purified concentrates. And that's kind of a bummer. I mean, my perspective is very similar to yours. I prefer flower. And if I get into extracts, it's really more like legitimate hash or keef or something like that. That's still representative of the plant, minimally processed. And so it's been weird to watch. It's just a different.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like a generational gap with me, I guess, a bit that way. I mean, I can certainly help with growing a lot, but boy, all of the other stuff, it's okay, but I don't know. It's a bit strong. The first time, gosh, this was like a long time, like 15 years ago, at least. Yeah, we made the butane hash.
So I know we've been going for a little bit over an hour here, so I want to go ahead and start to wrap things up. So I guess to start to bring this all together, I mean, first of all, I want to make sure that everyone listening knows, we mentioned it earlier, where to go to find the We Grow Cannabis book, as well as just to keep track of everything that you've got going on, because you've kind of left a few hints here and there that there might be some more things coming down the pipeline, assuming, how things go. So, real quick, let's make sure to remind everybody, where do they go to get the book, and how do they keep track of everything that you have going on?
Oh, it's real easy. It's real easy to keep track of everything. Go to Jorge-Cervantes.com and sign up to download this book. It's a free PDF and it's interactive. You push a button, you push anywhere on the table of contents.
Yeah, full of links and everything.
And you go there.
It's very cool. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'd say that, right? And anyway, go there and then definitely sign up for my newsletter. Because that way you get informed of stuff. I'm gonna be doing big stuff with this book. I'm not gonna say what right now because I gotta have something in my hand before I can talk. And then also I'm doing big stuff with this book as well. It's worth signing up for the newsletter. You'll stay right on top of stuff. But I can say this, but I don't know how big your Spanish speaking audience is, but this book I have already translated in Spanish, and we are putting that on the internet, and I have a Spanish page as well. Jorge's, what's the name of that? I can't remember. Anyway, I've got a Spanish page as well. We just put that up, and I've got Spanish Facebook that's also there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's really important because, there's more people talk Spanish than English, right?
Exactly, yeah. If you want to connect with more people in the world,
my goal,
great.
One simple goal. I want to teach the whole world to grow cannabis, more and better cannabis, and anybody that'll listen, I talk to them. That's it.
I definitely appreciate you being willing to spend the time today to talk to us. Like I mentioned before at the beginning of the show, you really did teach me how to cultivate cannabis. I remember some of your older books before the Marijuana Horticulture book, the Indoor Growers Bible. There's so many books. You've really dedicated your life to educating, and as a fellow educator, yes, look at that, yes. And a lot of folks don't remember some of those early copies. They might recognize the Growers Bible, but there's so many books. I mean, do you remember the total number? Because you've published, quite a few. Was it like over 40 or 60 books or something? It's a lot.
At least 50 books. Depends on how you count them and stuff. But yeah, at least 50 books.
Yeah.
Some of them have quite a few. Especially the French one. That's got quite a few. I've done 8 different languages. I got 8 languages, all the European languages. Dutch. I had the first good book, Marijuana Binnen in Dutch. I got respect from the Dutch guys. That's pretty hard. And then also, German, Italian, French, Spanish, of course, Japanese, and Russian. I didn't make any money on those two, Japanese and Russian. Just like had a nice trip though to Japan. That was really good. So I've done over 50. You can see all of them on my website. Jorge Cervantes.com. And I've been around for a while.
And the videos, like I said, I mentioned in the beginning, the videos were so huge. I think those came out in the early 2000s or something. But I think those are lingering on the internet that folks can. They keep cropping up all over the place. But those are huge. I mean, that's one reason why I asked you the question about Spain, because I remember from watching those videos way back then of seeing you talk about Spain and the way cannabis grew there and showing different places. So just really amazing work. As a fellow cannabis educator, it's amazing to connect with you, and you're a huge inspiration. So I greatly appreciate the chance to connect with you and to connect you with my audience. And I appreciate everything you do and look forward to seeing what you do in the future.
Hey, thank you. Thanks so much, Jason. It's really, really nice. I appreciate the time that you've given me, and I'm just happy to be here, happy to help, man. It's kind of like life mission, huh? Works for me.
That's right. Yeah, we're lifelong learners and lifelong educators, and yeah, it's great. So everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Go to Jorge-Cervantes.com and find everything that we've been talking about here. And if you want to learn more about Curious About Cannabis, just go to cacpodcast.com and you can find everything there. So with that, everybody, if you've made it to the end, thanks so much. Stay curious and take it easy. Bye-bye, everybody. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notified of more videos, and go ahead and check out another video while you're at it.